Hey guys, just to remind you guys before we start the video, I am part of the Omnibuds Cafe Facebook group. You guys should check it out. It's really awesome. I'll leave links down below in the description and as the pinned comment. And yeah, you guys should check them out. And I hope you guys enjoy the video coming up. So I'll see you guys in the next section here. Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing another comic book review. Today we're gonna be looking at Ain't No Grave number 5. This is the finale. So I guess I'll just give you a quick non-spoiler review of the series in case you're interested. So Ain't No Grave is a series by Skottie and Jorge. It has coloring by Jean-Francois Belay and lettering by Nate Pecos. And it's the story of a woman who used to be a very badass kind of lone, well, I was gonna say lone ranger, but she's the opposite. She's like some sort of outlaw in this Wild West kind of region. She eventually settled down, and it turns out that she has some unknown sickness. I'm guessing it's some sort of cancer. And because she doesn't want to leave her family behind, she doesn't want to die before they grow old, she sets out on a last adventure. And because of the way that this story is written, we're not actually in like a real version of the Wild West, but rather we're in this kind of like, you know, magical realism type version of it. And so she goes on this journey across the Wild West to try to find Death and see if she can get him to leave her alone, right? Basically, that's the concept. And it's really phenomenal. I love this story. I think that Skottie and Jorge did a lot of amazing work here. This is maybe not necessarily my favorite of their stories because I've not read that many of them. Like, I've not finished reading that many of them. I do think I like this a bit better than Middle West, at least the first part of it that I've read. And there are some really interesting things done with the artwork here and with the way that the story is told that I find really, really enjoyable. So that's kind of my non-spoiler review of the whole series. At this point, you should leave if you don't want to know how the story ends, though. So thank you very much for watching if you watched to this point. And hopefully I'll see you here again when you finish reading the series on your own, right? So let's get into what happens in this issue, right? So we get Ryder who has a send-off against Death. At this point, she's found him, and Death tells her, hey, you're not supposed to be here yet. You know, what's going on? And, well, Ryder basically tells him, yeah, I know, and I never want to be here ever, right? Like, I don't want to die, is basically what she goes to. And Death laughs at her. He's like, yeah, no one does, but it's part of reality. You have to be here at some point. And he tells her that she gets death like everyone else. And then there's this kind of philosophical argument here, or this kind of concept here of like, you know, you're a killer. You have killed so many people and affected the lives of so many others through your actions. Why do you deserve to live longer than any of them? And this really hits Ryder like a ton of bricks, right? She's like, I didn't kill all of these people because, you know, Death arrayed all of the people that she killed behind him, and it's like an incountable number of them, right? And he's like, yeah, maybe not directly, but, you know, all of these people were affected by the deaths that you caused. Aren't you responsible for them too? And, you know, I mean, you can argue yes, you can argue no, it depends. One of the examples he gives is like, she killed a doctor at some point, right? And so if she killed this doctor, then everyone in town was gonna die too because they didn't have a healer in their town, right? And so, you know, in that sense, she is directly responsible for his death. But is she directly responsible for someone killing themselves in sadness because someone else died? You know, it gets a bit nebulous there, but it was a great moment, and I love the way that it affected Ryder because she is our main character. We know that she's not a good person, but we understand her as an individual. We know that idea of like wanting to outrun death or not wanting death to affect us or those around us, right? And so it makes total sense to, you know, take her on as your ride-along character and to have her be the person that you follow and empathize with, sorry. But, you know, she does kind of get her, her comeuppance there with that reality. And so he asks her, you know, do you really deserve to live more than them? And, well, she just shoots him. And he manages to cut the bullet in two with his scythe, I think, something like that. It's really kind of unclear what happened, but basically the shot doesn't land. he swung his scythe, and I'm guessing he either batted the bullet out of the way or he cut it in half. I would have liked it if he cut it in half, but it should have been a bit clearer if that was the case. I think ultimately he just batted it to the side, right? And then he's like, okay, let's have a deal. I will give you all of the shots that you have left in your 2 guns. If you manage to hit me, I will give you some time back. And if you don't, if you miss, I will give you a peek at what you're missing out on. And so she misses every shot, and she gets a peek of all of the moments in time that she lost by not staying with her family, by coming on this adventure instead, right? And so he sees her husband and their child, you know, living a kind of happy life without her. They see her daughter growing up and finding a boyfriend. They see their daughter growing up and marrying someone. I think it's the same guy, actually. Then her grandchildren. Then she sees her grandchildren interacting with their grandfather, and then interacting with their mother, where their mother tells them about Ryder, about their grandma, about how she went off, right? And they get to see that this land that, you know, she had won in that one casino game became the basis for this great generation of people and this great life that she missed out on because she decided to be, I guess the answer would be selfish, or the word would be selfish, and go on this journey instead of appreciate what she had and stayed with her family through her sickness, right? She didn't really save them anything, but maybe again, she maybe saved herself something, right? I'm not really sure. It's kind of very interesting how this works. And then she sees love and happiness and a beautiful family, and it's more than she deserves, and she knows this, and Death tells her this, and she's like, yeah, I know, man. And then she asks him, can I say goodbye to them? And he's like, are you sure that would help? She thinks yes, no, really, it probably wouldn't. And then he raises his gun. It's the last moment, and then you get a gunshot, and you get her tombstone, and it's ended. And it's so bittersweet. And it's actually a really beautiful story. When I read this a few weeks ago, I don't think I really liked it. I felt a bit empty. I didn't feel like the confrontation between Ryder and Death was large enough or meaningful enough. And I also felt like she should have won at least something back, right? A little bit of time. And then come back later to Death and then finally gotten to die. But you know, with a bit more distance and just kind of understanding the key elements and having thought about it a bit more, I think this was a phenomenal ending to the story. I think this was a really beautiful, really poignant story about your life, the way that, you know, growing up and settling down changes you, and kind of the interesting reality that dying or the threat of death is actually what makes life special, right? And that happiness isn't necessarily endless life, but rather appreciating what you have while you're alive, right? And, you know, maybe that's a bit too much, or maybe it's not enough, or maybe it's kind of surface level. I'm not really sure. You know, that's up to you to decide what you get out of this book is your own kind of situation, right? That's what I got out of it, you know, after 2 weeks of thinking about it and not thinking about it all that deeply. But my grandfather recently died in May, at the end of May. I didn't get to see him before he passed or anything, and the last time I spoke to him was a few years ago, I think. But, you know, even though I didn't necessarily feel all that much sadness because, you know, as an immigrant kid, growing up away from the vast extended family that I have, I wasn't really all that close to many of them. The sadness that I got through my dad, because he was immensely sad at the passing of his father, obviously, was really powerful and really meaningful, and it was just kind of hard to really deal with it for a few weeks. You know, he's fine now, we're all good, but this story about death in a Wild West setting, especially after the stories that my dad and my uncle shared with me about their family and you know, my grandpa and his family, right? Because they used to own a big ranch and a hacienda down in South Mexico, and my uncle Luis, one of my dad's brothers, was telling us these stories about these weird, crazy, Wild West-esque scenarios that they had to do, right? Like one time, my dad and him were kind of chilling on the farm while they were riding their tractor or like a buggy or something, I can't remember, across the land, and then they saw a bunch of wolves or some foxes or something, I can't remember what it was, maybe it was coyotes, chase down one of their animals. And so my great uncles and my grandpa jumped on their horses, took out their guns, and ran after them to run them down so they wouldn't hunt their animals, right? And you know, nothing like that happens in this book, but the setting and the themes really resonated with me because it's just something relatively recent that happened to me too, right? And I really loved the story. I thought it was phenomenal. It was wonderful. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. So I recommend you guys check this out. It basically ended a few weeks ago, so I'm sure that the trade for it isn't out yet. It'll probably come out soon, and I recommend that you guys check it out. It's really phenomenal stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you thought about the series if you've read it, right? So yeah, thank you guys once again, and see you guys later.